Hello, I'm professional attorney and very much amateur musician Scott Lesowitz, and today I'll be talking about KDH's video about the judgment in the Fender copyright lawsuit out of Dusseldorf, Germany. And I think KDH did a good job in his video, but I'm going to explain how KDH got it wrong about the judgment and the significance of the judgment. And I'm also going to explain, frankly, why I think he was misled into believing what he believed, and that was, frankly, based off of the press releases. So this is how KDH described the significance of this judgment.
As of yesterday, March 9th, 2026, the entire guitar industry as we know it may have changed forever. And I say this with no exaggeration, this might be the biggest guitar industry news in the last few decades.
And this is how KDH described what the court ruled and the significance of the ruling. And if this were correct, he frankly would be right about the significance of this ruling.
In simple terms, as of yesterday, every guitar that resembles the Strat body shape just became illegal to sell in the European Union.
So the big thing that KDH missed about the case and the ruling is that this was a default judgment. What that means is that the defendant didn't show up, did not contest the case, did not put up any facts. They just ignored the lawsuit. Now, I'm not an attorney in Germany. I do not know German. But that said, I did look into this a bit, and their default rules seem very similar to me as how it works in the United States. And so that means that the judge accepted all the factual allegations in Fender's complaint as true. And that said, the court did do some analysis to make sure that those facts are legally sufficient to establish copyright infringement. But that decision is based off of the one-sided factual account and factual narrative in Fender's complaint. And the other big thing that KDH got wrong was that this ruling, this judgment, is not binding on anyone except for this one particular defendant in this case. This ruling has virtually no impact on anyone else. The court order, the injunction, does not apply to anyone except for this one defendant. This ruling would have probably little impact on how a court would rule in the future if it were a case where the defendant actually shows up and contests it. It would be probably more so important if there was another default case. But again, I mean, it's and this gets to the thing that Fender and their law firm did. Their press releases, and I think this misled KDH. Their press releases made it seem like this was an extremely important ruling and a major victory. And really, I mean, they beat a defendant that did not show up in a default. I mean, big deal. So the remainder of my time, first I'm going to show the Fender press release and why I think it misled KDH. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the ruling and why the court ruled the way it did. And again, I give the caveat that I'm not an attorney in Germany or anywhere in the EU, but copyright law and copyright principles are quite similar in Europe as in the United States because so much of copyright is determined by international conventions. So looking at the beginning of the Fender press release on the court's ruling, you can see it does make it seem like this is a really broad ruling that is not limited to one single defendant, but would apply to anybody who makes a guitar that looks too much like a Strat. So it says here, the decision creates enforceable rights against any guitars using the Stratocaster body shape that are manufactured, sold, or distributed into Germany or other countries of the European Union, regardless of where those guitars are produced, reinforcing Fender's ability to protect its designs in global commerce. So it does say later on in the press release, as a result of the ruling, Yiwu Philharmonic Musical Instruments Co. is prohibited from manufacturing, offering, or distributing guitars featuring the Stratocaster body shape in Germany and the EU. Any future violations may result in fines of up to 250,000 euros per infringement or up to 6 months imprisonment. So, I mean, it does not say there that this is limited to just Yiwu. The ruling is just Yiwu, but at least it's, they would say this is explaining that it's not every defendant, even though, again, it's in best, I think, ambiguous, and someone who's quite intelligent in KDH, and I say that because I've seen some of his videos, other videos, and his explanation of copyright and trademark law in general. I was very impressed by it. So if he were confused by it, you got to think other people who read the press release were confused as well. Now, I mean, since it's just against this one, defendant in China, good luck enforcing it. And, I'll take for granted, I'm American, I'll take for granted that 250,000 euros are, worth something. I don't know. Maybe let's say it's probably worth a few $1,000s or so. I don't know. I think it's real money, right? But, presumably you won't see Yiwu, you'll see somebody else that will, try to have some kind of plausible deniability that they're connected to Yiwu. So, again, good luck finding Mr. Yiwu and putting him in prison for 6 months. Now, I do want to say that the Fender's law firm was more clear about the impact, the scope of the ruling. But that said, the law firm appeared to me, at least the one press release I believe I saw, I was trying to be careful there in case there's like another one out there and I'm wrong or saw a mistake. I don't want to get sued. But I believe, from what I saw, that their press release did not, though, say it was a default judgment, which, again, that's a big deal for the significance of the ruling and also just for like the prestige of your victory. Now, copyright can extend to the design of something like a guitar. And that said, though, copyright would not be granted to functional aspects of the design, purely functional aspects of the design. So the question is, to what degree is the Stratocaster design have creative elements, and the amount of creativity required for copyright protection is, fairly low. But to what degree do those non-functional aesthetic aspects of the guitar that do not impact the function or the sound of the guitar, to what degree do those elements satisfy the requirements for copyright protection? So here is the court explaining the design of the Strat based off of, remember, based off of Fender's one-sided allegations in the complaint. And as you can imagine, if a defendant were contesting this and able to contest these facts and provide alternative facts, the ruling could very well be different. So the court said, the design as a body without edges gives the Stratocaster soft curves that evoke associations with a female torso consisting of hips, waist, and arms. At the same time, the left side is stretched so that the S-lines of the two sides are not parallel, but the radii of their respective curves are uneven. In addition, the left horn, reminiscent of an arm, is more elongated than the right, giving the impression that it is reaching for something distant. This not only creates an asymmetrical shape, but also gives the impression that the Stratocaster is leaning slightly to the right, like a dancer leaning to one side. The impression of the body being stretched is further emphasized by its three-dimensional design, with a flattening of the front left side, resembling a backward tilted pelvis, and a narrower left rear side compared to the right side. Finally, the pickguard further emphasizes this characteristic individual shape by echoing the curves of the body on the right, upper and lower sides, as well as on the left side, thus underlining them together with the arrangement of the cable outlet parallel to the lower right end of the pickguard. Such a futuristic, elegant, and timeless design of a guitar body with a fretboard that further emphasizes the asymmetrically curved shape represented something fundamentally new at the time of the conception and release of the Stratocaster. As the plaintiff has explained, nothing of this kind existed in the design repertoire at that time. Now, in fairness to the judge and defender, Perhaps in the original German, it's not quite as dramatic, but at least in the English translation, I mean, my gosh, that just makes it sound like this is the, like there's looks totally different than any other guitar before it, and was just such a revolutionary design that completely changed everything about guitars, and it's just I mean, this sounds like the Mona Lisa of guitars, and I think that is understating it, frankly, based off that description. I mean, I was like ready to cry when I read it. It was just so emotional. Okay, with that, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe if you have not already, and take care.